Welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, a Foster Web Marketing production. Here's your host, Tom Foster.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the World of Marketing, where I, Tom Foster, talk with legal leaders about marketing mindset and the growth of law firm businesses. This episode is brought to you by my own company, Foster Web Marketing. Since the internet was born, Foster Web Marketing has been the premier provider of customized websites, marketing, video, and strategic marketing solutions for law firms. Our unparalleled web technology and marketing systems set the gold standard in the industry, catering exclusively to a discerning clientele who demand the best. Partner with Foster Web Marketing to experience uncompromising quality, cutting-edge technology, and exceptional service. Visit fosterwebmarketing.com to discover how we can help you achieve your most ambitious goals and solidify your position at the forefront of your field. But today, it is my great honor to have as my guest, Stephanie Everett, CEO of The Lawyerist, who coaches law firm leaders on how to grow and sustain a healthy business. She hosts the Lawyerist Podcast, it's a very popular podcast, and co-authored the best-selling book, The Small Firm Roadmap. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for being on my podcast. I feel like I'm talking, the little guy talking to the big guy here, because you have a great follower on your podcast. You guys do a great job on that.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. And luckily, the podcast was started by my business partners, and I just got to kind of pick up the baton and carry it. But as you know, it's a lot of fun to do these shows. You get to meet really good people. Yeah,
you meet good people. And, we're all in this to help, lawyers get better in this business. And, it's a tough business being a lawyer, because you go to law school and you're like, you learn all about the law, and there's no business class there, this is how you have to do it. And then you're thrown out to the streets and you got to fend for yourself. And it's a tough world, right?
Absolutely.
And you're a lawyer yourself?
Yeah, I went to law school. I mean, if you had told me in law school would be my job one day, I would have laughed hysterically, because I didn't even know a job like this existed or that I would have it. But I went to law school, went into big law after law school, because that's what I thought you were supposed to do. And right. I'm a rule follower, so I like to do what you're supposed to do. And got the opportunity to leave that firm and start my own firm with a partner. Again, something I never thought was in the cards, like launching a business and then running it. And we ended up having a lot of success with it. We grew from the two of us to about a team of 20 in just under 7 years.
Wow. And
I was the managing partner, and I really loved the business. Like, it was a puzzle, and I got to figure it out. And as soon as we would grow and you do those first couple of hires and you figure it out, then we'd hire more and we'd have to figure it all out again. It was like we had to reinvent our business several times along the way as we grew. And people started coming to me, asking me, how did you do that? What does that look like? And in those conversations is where I really realized there was a need, that maybe what I thought was common sense wasn't so common, and that there was a place where I could really help people. So that's when I made the shift, almost, I think 8 years ago now, that I got certified as a coach and started just helping lawyers now build their business.
Wow. And so what kind of law did you practice?
Business litigation, real estate litigation, mostly. So, all trial lawyer. I mean, I got to court more than most civil litigators, so that was pretty exciting. There's days I miss it.
And so at what point did you get to in that, running your own firm, growing your firm, because you did a good job scaling a law firm, which is hard to do. And so, at what point were you like, I don't want to do this. I'd rather help other lawyers. Like, what made you decide to do that?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. Obviously, I'd had a child, so I had a young kid at the time, and that was happening. And I was probably feeling the pull of, gosh, I sure do work a lot.
Right,
and it's hard to draw boundaries once you've kind of let them all go. Like, I definitely was one of those. I'm one of the lawyers I write about what not to do. Like, I, build from the delivery room. I build from the Magic Kingdom. Like, if you name a place, I've probably built some hours there. So I was, so that was not great. But then I really was drawn to this idea of there's got to be a better way to build a law firm. And I really think I could add some value here. And so I guess I'm just fortunate that I sort of listened to that voice and kind of put together a few things at the same time and said, all right, I'm going to try this. I remember at the time my dad was kind of like, wait, you went to law school. You're not going to be a lawyer anymore. Like that's crazy. That was crazy to him that I would give that up. But I said, well, this is an opportunity. I could always have I still have my license. I still keep it active. So I could always go back. But now I don't think that's in the cards for me. My lawyer brain's a little rusty. So
how long did you practice law before you made this change?
Just over 13 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you got some good experience under your belt, and you've been doing this 8 years with at the Lawyerist, and you created the Lawyerist.
I created our coaching program. So the business had started by Sam and Aaron before me. They really started it honestly, it started as a tech blog where they were just annoyed with lawyers who were not using technology. So they kind of started it like ranting on why lawyers get a grip. Like, why aren't you using technology? From that, it evolved into how do you run a business? And then really when I joined the team, they realized we have this website, people come to us for information, and they had the podcast. How do we really turn this into something that lawyers now can use? How do we help them implement these ideas? So when I joined the team, I really created our coaching program that we call Lawyerist Lab. And my title's changed a whole bunch since then, but that's ultimately at the heart, like what we focus on is, how do we help people make their businesses better? Because to your point, we didn't learn it in law school, and it's hard to learn after law school too. You can read books, the information's out there. It's all about what do you do with it?
Yeah. And it's funny you brought that up, because that reminds me, that's how I remember the Lawyerist, as being that tech, podcast about, like, come on guys, get it together. And that was interesting. Okay. So let me ask you this question. There's a lot, as you know, in the pool of coaching lawyers, so what is different about what you guys do than like other coaching programs, would you say?
Yeah, good question. I don't think any one of us has a secret or a magic formula. Like I just said, the information on how to run a good business, good business principles and practices, they're widely available. We can read books, listen to podcasts, that information exists. So the difference, I think, is for the coach, like there's a little bit of a relationship, and like, who are your people and what does that community look like and what are they helping you do? I can only say what we do, which is we tend to be tech forward for sure. We tend to also be about helping lawyers think differently about their business. I've told people in the past, look, the answer, if you came and joined our program and let's say you weren't hitting your revenue targets, the easy answer is I could just say, well, raise your rates, bill more hours. And I know I do know coaches out there that's their advice. And I'm like, that may be the right answer. That's just not really interesting or fun to me. Like I want to figure out, how can you make more and bill less? Like, how can you get away from the billable hour? How can you think differently about your business? How can you, push the envelope and build something in a way that we haven't done it for the last 200 years? Because I think there's a lot of value in that. So I think we tend to attract people who are interested in that conversation, and interested in a supportive community. The other thing I'll say about what we've built that I'm probably most proud of is this group of lawyers. When we get together, people let their guard down. I don't know if I know you know this. When you go into a room of lawyers and it feels like everybody's kind of got their chest up and they're trying to prove who is the best whatever in the room.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of that in our community. People come in and they're vulnerable and they're open and they're like, hey, I'm struggling with this. And somebody else will be like, hey, I figured that out 6 months ago. Let me show you how. And so they really help each other. And I've had people come up to me and say, wow, this kind of restored my faith in our profession. Like I haven't been in a room before where everyone's not trying to compete and one up each other, where we actually are helping each other because there's value to that too. And so I think that's pretty cool and special. And so that's, I'm proud of that.
And everybody's unique, right? Like everybody's unique. You can't really pigeonhole or categorize, you're like this, because everybody's law firm is, because they're different. It's run differently. They have different dreams. They have different goals, right? And it's all different. So how do you guys do that? Do you like get a group together and meet every month, or how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, for most people are going to come in at our breakthrough level. That's what we call it. And we are really focused on helping you build a healthy business. So we have our healthy firm model where we focus on, everything from strategy, team, technology, systems, clients, profits, your owner, right? All of it makes up the healthy firm. Logistically, we're going to assign you to a coach. So you're going to come in, we're going to help you build out that foundations of your business and make sure you have a solid business plan. That's just where we start. And we kind of touch on all the elements. Some people go through that really fast because they already have it. Others might need a little bit more time, but we just want to make sure you're set. But you work with an assigned one-on-one business coach. You have opportunities to come to weekly group calls that focus on different things. Sometimes our coaches have office hours where you can just come and get help on something you might be stuck on, or we'll have very specific topics, like we're going to do a workshop on this, or, the topics we really listen to the community, but they run the gamut. And then we have an online portal with a forum where people can ask questions and talk to each other. There's templates and worksheets and online videos, all kinds of courses. Like people can go deep into that if they want. And then we have our conference where we get together once a year in person. We get together virtually more. So each quarter we'll do a day-long virtual quarterly planning session to set your priorities for your firm. And then once a year we get together in person. Really, it's an unconference. So it's not a lot of speakers at the front of the room. There's not a lot of, like everyone's like, oh, look, which speaker track do I need to go to? It's like, no, that's not this. This is like getting together to spend time working on your business. So people come in with a goal, or we help them figure out, what do you need next? And so we'll have people build out their financial projections with us on site because we've got our financial coach there. Or we'll have people work on their client intake process. I have pictures of community members mapping out Post-it notes on the wall of the bar in the hotel that we're in. Here's what it takes. Here's what happens when somebody calls my firm, and they'll map out their intake process. That's just an example, but we really use the time. They get lots of good ideas. Of course, they're going to learn new things, but then they work on what their business needs most, because I get frustrated is probably a good word. We go to these conferences, people come back with all these ideas, but then the phone starts ringing and clients start calling, and all those good ideas, 6 months later, you're like, did I do any of those things?
Yeah, you didn't implement it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So we really are about how do you start that change? How do you make implementation? How do you implement? How do you get it going? So we use a lot of our time in our in-person conference and even in our virtual sessions. We have a lot of work sessions where you're going to come into a call, maybe even just virtually, and we're going to be like, what do you need to get done right now? Okay, let's get it done. Let's get the first 3 steps started, or something. Because that's a lot of times that's what people need. They're just so overwhelmed by the ideas and the thoughts and the things, and we just need to get them on that path and get it started.
Yeah, and they need to be accountable to somebody, right? They need to be like, are you going to get this? It's like homework, and like checking the homework to make sure that it got it done. The other thing is that the lawyer comes, learns all this stuff, and then he's got to bring it back to his staff and tell them what to do. And that staff is like, what? We don't like change. What are you talking about? Right. And then he's got to convince them. And so do you involve staff in this with the law firm?
Yeah, we do. We have a special monthly meeting just for the firm administrators. We find that we're often dealing with that position. They're called different things at each firm, titles can vary, but we definitely have a role in a group. They meet with each other. They meet with our coaches, but they have a chance to connect with each other, and they really like that. lawyers also to the conference, they can bring other guests from the firm with them to that. And we find that becomes really helpful. And now we're seeing a new trend, which we love, which is as associates are sort of getting identified by maybe as part of the succession planning process, because obviously we're working with a lot of small firm owners on what comes next. They're saying, hey, I think I want to sell to this person. I want to bring this person along. Well, as part of that associate's professional development plan, they're bringing them into the program and getting them their own coach assigned to them and involving them in the process. And we work with that firm then on their vision, and how and what that next part is going to look like. How does that succession look? But then actually also, how are we going to make it happen and implement it?
And do you work with all kinds of different practices, or do you have a specific, like personal injury lawyers or business litigation lawyers, or is it all over the map?
It's pretty diverse. Somehow there's some other coaching programs, they seem to have a lot of PI lawyers. So I think they kind of have that market. So if anything, we have less PI lawyers, not to say we don't have any, we certainly do. We tend to have, we really are all over the board, but family law, immigration, real estate, business. Yeah, it's not limited to just, people selling to consumers, but there's a lot of B2B lawyers as well. So I'd say it's a really healthy mix in terms of practice area. Right now, this program is more focused on smaller firms. So usually we see 10 to 15 lawyers or less is really, and if they're, people like to say, oh, I'm a true solo. I always laugh about that because I'm solo isn't, if they really are a solo in terms of that's all they want. If they truly want just to have a firm of one and they want no outsourced help whatsoever, you're probably not going to love our program.
Right. It's hard. Right? Yeah. You're not going to be able to scale that.
Exactly.
That. Right. Yeah.
But if you're kind of still, maybe you're the only lawyer right now, but you're ready to leverage and use other resources and you want to grow to have a team. Team can be defined lots of ways, whatever that team needs to look like. Then I would say, yes, you would benefit from the program. And usually startups can get a lot of value. We have a special program we kind of have for startups, but where we really find we can help most people is they've launched, they have clients, they have work coming in the door, and they're finding themselves like, now what do we do with this? Now work's coming in, and now I need to hire people. I need about the systems and processes. Like, how am I going to serve all these clients? Because I can't do it just by myself. That is kind of, to me, one of our sweet spots, maybe just because I enjoy that piece too. It's just kind of a fun part of the business stage, if you will. So, yeah.
That's a good segue, because I was going to ask you, could you tell us a story about, what a client that you're most proud of, you've helped? You don't need to name names, but, do you have something that pops into your head?
Yeah, there's so many, but,
right.
One favorite one, there's a couple of stories, but one is really when they figure out what's going to make their life most meaningful. So I think a lot of, as small firms, small businesses, sometimes we make the mistake of creating a job for ourselves, right? We create this business and it gives us a paycheck and it gives us work, but it doesn't actually fulfill all those things we thought when we first launched that business. So I worked with one labster. We call them labs. We call our program Lab.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So we call the program Lab, LAB, because that's where you go to test and experiment and iterate. And so then out of that became Labsters, which we joke about the lobsters. That's why I have my little lobster claw. But you can kind of see on our logo. It's nice. A lobster and a lab coat is our logo for the program, which is completely silly, but we love it. So a labster came to me, and he had what probably most people would say was a typical successful family law practice, maybe a team of around 10, 12 people, but doing a very traditional divorce heavy driven practice, and was like, you know what? I'm not happy. Like, this isn't giving me the lifestyle that I want. My wife and I want to spend half the year living in another country. They just had a lot of different ideas about what they wanted to do with their life and how he wanted to serve his clients. So we worked on a completely new business model about what it would look like to have an online prenup service. And eventually he closed down what was his traditional practice and launched prenups.com, and is able to serve people now remotely from anywhere. Him and his family are able to travel. It's just opened up all kinds of new opportunities for him. And it was something he always thought would be like a someday, like, oh, maybe one day when I retire kind of thing. And we immediately challenged that and was like, why aren't we doing this sooner? And so now it's, it didn't even take him the 5 years he thought it might take. It was just like, let's get it going. And he's having a lot of success, but it really kind of changed the whole business model. So that's just, I guess, one example. That's a pretty drastic one. Most people don't end up changing their entire practice when they work with us.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, like, and they need, you're right. Sometimes they just need that push, that confidence booster, right? That they can do it, and the roadmap to get there. I love that your book. That's the Small Firm Roadmap, right? And that's the new book that you guys revisited that you came out with. And they can get that book from you. They just go to your website and get it. Is that the best way to do it?
There, or Amazon. It's pretty, and if you're really up for it, you can even get the audio version, which unfortunately I read. So there you go. You can listen to me.
You did the narration of it.
Yeah, I can put you to sleep. I tried to make it interesting. My team laughed at me. My blooper reel was hysterical. Like, want to challenge yourself. Try reading a book, and make it sound interesting to someone.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Well, tell me some of, you have any mentors that have helped you along the way?
I mean, of course, and different types of mentors. I mean, when you first asked that question, my mind immediately went to lawyers, right? That I first started when I was a baby lawyer, learning how to practice. The very first partner that I ever worked for is now a federal judge, and she taught me first. She made me dictate, which we laugh about now. Like, I had to dictate in old timey tapes, and turn the hand recorder and turn the tapes in, and my assistant would type them out, which people like to make fun of. But I'm like, now it's so easy. You can still dictate. You just do it to the computer, and it creates that. I mean, but she could dictate a brief, like a full-on legal brief. And like pretty much day one that I started working with her, she was like, you're going to learn to dictate. It's going to make you faster and better and more efficient. So she taught me all these, like, what interesting things to pass along that you don't think about teaching someone when they first start out. But she was for sure a mentor, and she just retired last month. So that was kind of a neat, exciting experience.
Okay, so how about some daily rituals that keep you going?
All right, I'm going to make a confession right here and now, because I've read all the books. I know about, like, getting up and meditating and stretching and doing daily affirmations and all the things. I'm terrible at them. I get started. I have this like great, okay, I'm going to dive in, and then it doesn't last, and I don't really do any of them. And so maybe my daily ritual is giving myself grace that I'm a mom. I've got, a husband who has his own business, and I'm running a business. And so, I had a great.
What does your husband do?
Oh, he is a craft beer distributor. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, way more. It sounds more interesting, but it's still like.
Well, that is very competitive now, right? That is. Where are you guys located? Where are you looking?
In Atlanta, just outside Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And so, like, that's how long has he been doing that?
About the same time that I got into the coaching. So the same, about 8 years. Like, funny, not great story, but I sold my law firm at the same time he sold his business, his restaurant, to start that business. So I don't recommend both spouses in a
Two
couple.
entrepreneurs in the same family. Wow.
Yes, but don't start your companies at the same time. Like, he was like, "Hey, can I have a year and to get this up and running before you do your next thing?" And I was like, "Sure, honey." And then I think 2 weeks later, I was like, I might have, sorry, timing got.
That's funny, dude. My next question is, what is the craziest thing you've ever done? But I think you just answered that.
Yeah, that, and maybe one time I was in a cult. I'm not sure.
Well, they have to join the coaching group to find out the details of that.
Exactly.
Well, Stephanie, how does somebody get involved in the Lawyerist and coaching programs that you guys offer?
Yeah, the easiest thing to do is head to the website, lawyerist.com. So lawyerist.com. You can get information there on the coaching program. It's called Lawyerist Lab. And, but you can also just check out, we just have a ton of great free resources there. So if you go to the website, you can read about other service providers and technology tools, or there's free guides in there on all kinds of parts about starting and running your business that I always recommend to people. You can, as you mentioned, we have a podcast and a book, so you can check all those things out. You can also always email me at people. Yeah, I'm pretty approachable. I read my email, I check it, and I respond. And so Stephanie@lawyerist.com. I'm always happy to connect with people and see if I can help you, or somebody on our team can help you.
And I checked out your website before we got going here, and I think it's a great website. It's got a lot of content on there, very helpful content, and tons of happy, what did you call them? Labsters. Tons of happy labsters on there that have been through the program or in the program that have had great success. So if you're listening to this, and I hope you are, I recommend that you guys check it out. If you're looking for this, if you've been in another coaching group and it didn't give you what you were looking for, or you're in the wrong coaching group and, it's not giving you what you're looking for, there's alternatives. And you should check out the Lawyerist and talk to Stephanie. Very friendly. It's very nice to meet you. I hope to be talking to you in the future, and I think we will.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Hang on. Okay, everybody. Tom Foster and Stephanie Everett at the World of Marketing Podcast. And make sure you check out the Lawyerist Podcast too, because it's quite popular and very good. I've listened to it a few times myself. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for tuning in.